I'm Dana K. White. I am the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. I'm the creator of the No Mess Decluttering process, and today I'm going to give you my strategies for finding lost things. Or just to be completely realistic, my strategies for looking for lost things in a way where I'm confident that I have truly looked everywhere I need to look. So I have a lot more experience looking for lost things than the average person. One of my biggest frustrations when my house was a complete disaster was that I was constantly losing things and I was spending so much time looking for things. Now, I have a strategy that I have shared many times before, and specifically in this video, how to find a place for everything, for putting things in places where I will actually find them in the first place where I look for them, right? That's a strategy to be working on right now while you're not desperately searching for something. That's the strategy that will change your home, but that's an over time working on your house kind of a thing. What do you do in those moments where you've lost something? I still lose things. It's so much better than it used to be, but I do still lose things because that's just reality for everyone, and especially for me, even though I'm so much better than I used to be before, okay? But I have a real strategy for looking for things, because when I didn't have a strategy, it was tearing my house apart, right? Like if I needed to look for something, especially when my house was big piles everywhere anyway, I would tear through the pile looking for things. And then I would think, oh my goodness, it's not there. And I would turn and look, and there was a new big pile created from the stuff I had thrown from the pile I was looking through. Well, my brain was not able to rest and be confident that that thing wasn't really in there, because now I'm seeing a pile, a big disorganized mess. And so my brain would think, well, maybe I missed it. And so I would dig through that pile again and throw everything. And then I would turn around and there was a new big pile over here where the first pile was, that had moved into a pile over there. And now it's a pile here, and my brain still can't rest, right? So as I have created a decluttering process, that the goal of this process is that I'm going to make real, actual, sustainable decluttering progress in any amount of time that I have available. That same process is what I use when I am searching for something. And here's why. When I'm searching for something, I'm not in a good frame of mind. Usually it's because I really need that thing. Also, there tends to be some self-loathing that happens when I am desperately searching for something. Why does this happen to me? Why didn't I put it where I should have put it in the beginning? What was all those things come into my brain. It's a very emotional time. I need something that is a real process to get me out of that unhelpful mindset and into an actual purposeful traction building process toward finding this item, okay? So having steps, just the existence of steps, is very helpful to me. But the other thing that this does, like I talked before about, I have one pile, I throw everything out of that pile, and then now I have a new pile from that. Okay, but I'm gonna throw everything out. When I search desperately for something, and the result of that searching desperately is a big mess of piles, I'm not confident that that item isn't in this big pile still, right? Like I can't chill out and move to the next thing. And so it becomes this whirlwind of desperately searching, right? So I go through the process to give me a process, but also so that as I go through this, I am making the space better than it was before, which is great, right? Because in these moments, it's generally the messy space that I'm having to search through, because the clear spaces I could see very quickly that the item wasn't there, right? But when I'm going through a messy space and I go through the process, I am making that space better. So my whole house is improving even in this moment of frustration and desperation and self-loathing. I'm still actually really making an impact on my house, okay? All right, not arbitrarily, but because it really helps me to do it this way. So what are the steps? Really, I'm gonna focus on steps 1, 2, and 3. Really, I'm gonna focus on steps 1 and step 3 and step 2 as much as I can, okay? So when I get that feeling and I'm like, okay, I gotta go through this space. In my regular decluttering process, I recommend that you start in the most visible space. When you're looking for something, go to the space where you think it probably could be, where it's most likely to be, right? Take your trash bag, take your donatable donate box, and have them there with you because you're going to be touching things anyway. We are not going to be making decisions, but those steps in the process are decision-free anyway, right? Like they are not anything that I am agonizing over, that I'm saying, is this trash? Is it not? Is it not? This is literally just me putting things that are obviously trash in the trash bag instead of thinking, oh, I'll deal with that later, right? So if I have the trash bag there, as long as I am looking for this item and I'm touching it anyway, because I have to move it to see what's there, I'm sticking it in the trash bag. That item is done, and I am never going to have to shift it or move it again to see if the item I'm looking for is behind it or under it. Okay, so I am putting things in the trash bag as I'm touching them anyway, or if I touch something and it's like, what? I'll stick it in the donate box, right? Because the other way of doing things, because it was a pile that I was searching through and I was throwing everything, as I was doing that, I was like, why do I even have all this stuff anyway? This just makes, if I have a moment where I'm like, this is a donation, I stick it in the donate box, okay? And then again, that's something I never have to shift or move or look underneath or wonder, wait, did I look behind that? I don't have to because it doesn't exist in this space to be blocking my vision of this item. And I can look at the space and know what is in here and is the item I'm looking for in there, okay? The reason I said we really focus on 1 and 3 is that trash goes in the trash bag. Donations that are obvious with no decisions, no thoughts whatsoever, go into the donate box, and those things are right here. So I'm still staying in this space. The second step of the 5-step no mess decluttering process is the easy stuff. It's removing the things from this space that have a home somewhere else. Like I know where these things go. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to analyze. I don't have to ask any questions. I know where these items go, right? And as part of the decluttering process, I take those items to their already established home so that they're out of the way, so that this space is only better. And if I was to step away at any point, I don't have anything hanging over my head as, oh, I've got to do that first before I can quit, or I have to quit and what was the point of doing that? Because now there's piles everywhere, right? So as much as I can, I'm gonna take it there now. But realistically, depending on your desperation level, like how quickly do you need to find this item? That determines whether you can actually do the take it there now, okay? But the reason why I try to take it there now as best I can, even though I really don't want to, because I feel like, no, I'm just looking for an item. I'm not really decluttering, even though I'm doing the decluttering as I'm going, right? The reason I want to do that is I want to avoid the pile. Because again, if my brain sees a pile, I think it could be in there and I've got to go through it again. I want to not have to go through this space or anything in this space again. I want to know that when I have looked through this space methodically by pulling out the trash, getting the easy stuff out, pulling out and sticking into the donate box any obvious donations, there's going to be a lot less stuff in this pile I was dealing with anyway there. And I can know, looking at it, because there's so much less stuff, I know for a fact I can step away from this space because it's not here. And then I can move on to the next space and methodically go through that. And yes, if it's something that I have time to be working on, I will go all the way through the process. I will do, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? Go take that there now, if I have the time. But even just following those first 3 steps removes so much stuff so that you're not gonna have to re-go through that. And it lets your brain rest. And that's so key in this process, to be able to methodically work through your space instead of frantically working through your space. Now, here's the funny story. Funny, not like funny haha, I wouldn't say. So Reed is trying to get all the videos done over the summer. So if you're watching this in, I don't know, March of 25, well, this video was made at the very end of July, which it's so hot. And so I'm sorry if you can hear the AC, but like that's the hardest thing about making my videos over the summer, but whatever. As I was coming up with video ideas, this is something that somebody had asked in one of my Tuesday Q&As that I do, the live Q&As here on YouTube. And I thought, oh, I should do one on, my methodically finding things, because, I have great stories of that. One story was my husband and my daughter, both. My daughter was frantically looking for this thing that they wear on their wrists for her dance team. She is in college now, as you're watching this. So anyway, but there were these wrist things, and you have to have them. Like the dancers have to have these wrist things to wear on the wrist, and she had lost hers. And she was frantically looking. She's like, I know it was in the car, and she was frantically looking. And then my husband was helping her, and he was frantically looking, and they both were like, it's not out there. It's not out there. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go look. So what I do, I go out there, and the floorboard, the back of her car was messy. And so I was like, okay, I am going to go through my process. Why? Because my brain starts to spin out and I want to just do this, but I'm like, that doesn't work. That hasn't worked for the two of them. It's not obvious. It's not easy to find. I'm just going to go through the process because it gives me something to do. So I started with, okay, take my trash bag out there. I put trash in it. Okay. And then I got to, there were some things, I think I had used that car, and there were some Costco items that didn't need to be refrigerated that I had just left in there. And so I was like, oh, I do not feel like doing that right now. That's not what I'm doing, right? Like it feels like I need to be focused on finding the wrist thingy and not on putting away all this stuff from Costco. And yet I was like, but that's the easy stuff. I have to get it out of here. So I started taking that stuff as much as I could carry into the house and putting that stuff away and coming, y'all, like I moved 3 things after getting the trash out of there, and there it was. It was underneath something that even though they had moved and shifted those things, it causes your brain to not know what has been moved and shifted and where you have looked and all of those things. And it causes that frustration and angst to continue and get worse. Okay. So that's one example, but I was thinking about doing this video and I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll have a situation that will come up where I could kind of talk about that. Y'all, why do I even say stuff like that? Because yay, guess what happened literally within a week of me thinking that thought. So my husband and my daughter and I we're going on a trip out of the country, and my son needed his Social Security card. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go get your Social Security card. So I come in here to where Social Security cards and passports are. And because I was in here, I thought, I'm going to go ahead and grab our passports, right? I'm telling you, and my whole family will verify this, I don't worry about where my passport is. Like there was a day earlier when my house was out of control. I absolutely, anything like that, I could never find it, right? Because I was always thinking, what's the best place to put this? And I would stick it in there and then I'd never know where that was in the future. But now there is a place for my passport and for our passports, and it's in here. And so I would not have even gone looking for it until maybe the day before, probably the day of, just because I don't worry about not knowing where my passport is. But because I happened to be in here 3 days before the trip, I thought, oh, I'll just go ahead and, just double check our passports. Here I am. And my husband's was there. My daughter's was there. My older son, who was not going on this trip, his was there. Mine was not there. And I decided I'm not going to freak out. It's got to be here. So I went through my process. I'm going to go ahead and get my trash bag. I'm going to go through this and took trash out. If there was anything else that was easy, whatever, got those things out. At this point, I was not in the frame of mind to actually video myself doing this because I was real irritated, right? And I'm pretty sure I didn't have any makeup on. Anyway, went through and it was not there. It was not in the drawer where it goes. So I started I'm going to methodically go through this space, all the nearby drawers where maybe it somehow ended up there. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Then my husband came home. I said, I'm just gonna ask you, because he had taken the passports to work to scan, which I have a way to scan at home, but he was handling all of that, which I was very grateful for. He'd taken him to work to scan and for the travel agent. And I was like, that's the last time I can think of that we need. I mean, I checked my calendar to see, was there anything that I did where I would have needed my passport? Anyway, I was searching. He then went, checked at work, checked with everybody at work. Did anybody happen to see a passport? Surely they would, say, does anybody need their passport? We could not find it. And so I spent the entire next day, after having made an emergency appointment for the get your passport same day thing. Highly don't recommend doing that. Instead, find your passport, because that was scary and not fun, and I almost didn't make my flight. But anyway, I searched and searched and searched, but because I have this process, I was able to search in one place and move to the next place. Spoiler, I did not find it. Yeah, right. But I felt confident that it really wasn't here, because doing the no mess process as my way to search for it meant that every space I left was only left with things that were actually supposed to be in there. And therefore I could glance at that drawer and see lots of open space, or at that, I mean, honestly, I was looking on the floor. I was looking everywhere. I pulled out every drawer. I pulled out everything. But because I was following the decluttering process and making every space better and making every space neat, and I could clearly see what was there and what I had, it made it to where I was able to confidently keep on moving through the house and know it isn't here. I don't know where it is. I'm not blaming my husband, because I tend to lose things too. So I feel like the minute I say this is somebody else's fault, that's when I am going to find it, and it's going to be clear that it was my fault, right? So we're not placing any blame. It's life. It happens. But what a great opportunity for me to, be able to experience the same process that I just thought I was going to make a video about, right? But that's what it's about. It's about leaving your house better and knowing what you have. Because remember, my secret, which is not a secret, the way I actually achieved a manageable home was through decluttering. It was not through finding all these elaborate places for things. It was by getting rid of enough so that when I open up a drawer, I can look in there and I see what's in there. I see what I have. Things are not piled on top of each other. So I'm like, I wonder what's below all that stuff. No, I can see and access and remember what is in this space. Okay, so that I can get that. I hope that makes sense. Those first 3 steps, just repeat them to yourself over and over. Even if you just simply take with you a trash bag and a donatable donate bag, and just look for trash and donations as you are doing the search anyway, it's amazing how that keeps you on track, which keeps your brain from spinning out and helps you really feel confident that I don't need to just, continually pull, and then do the same thing again in this space over and over and over. I can keep working through the rest of the spaces. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Okay, bye. I'll talk to y'all next week.